Boom.
Who's down with OTC?
Who's down, Jeff? With
Who's
OTC.
down with OTC? I'll tell you who's down. Apex Crypto is definitely down with OTC. He's the first one in, and he said, "Take that, Wen Mullet."
Boom, Wen Mullet. He's one up in
look at
you,
that.
Wen Mullet. Bam, first one in. Where is Wen Mullet? I see Channing's in here.
Channing's there.
And someone else
Wen
wished me a good day from down under. Prodigy Defenders here. What's going on? What time is it in your part of Australia? Anyway, what time is it? Shihab Hamdan's here. Hey, good
Yeah,
to see you,
fortunately,
man.
Shihab decided to eat dinner before.
He's eating dinner again?
Watching. No, he ate dinner already. Fortunately, hopefully it was good.
Yeah.
Hopefully it was good stuff. So, and I want to give a quick shout out just to a few people before we get started here. And we have a good amount of stuff to talk about as it comes to the SEC versus Ripple. We're going to get into XRP volatility. We're going to talk about the altcoin rally. We want to talk and touch a little bit about the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. But before we get started with that, I wanted to thank Silver Cartel and a few others, Mark over here as well, for pointing out that Saudi had partnered with Ripple back in 2017, 2018. So we're going to get into the significance of that and kind of the theme that was developing yesterday. And then we went into something else. And anyhow, you guys watched that one. And there's actually some really, key information coming out of Saudi Arabia we wanted to go over that we thought is significant. But I also want to give a shout out to Scuba Steve for buying us some coffee yesterday.
Yeah, he bought us a coffee, man. That's like the highest compliment right there. Aside from sharing this out there, guys, I mean, because that's the best way you can support the channel. Oh yeah, we'll tell you to remind you to like, subscribe, click that little notification bell. But really, sharing this with people, you buy us a coffee, man. That's phenomenal. I mean, you know how much Jeff and I talk about coffee. We don't talk not as much in the later streams, but we do talk about coffee a lot. But it's not relevant. But thank you for that. Appreciate that.
That's it, man. So all that stuff
is coming up. When, Jeff?
Right now.
Okay.
Welcome to On the Chain with Jeff and Chip.
You know, Jeff, somebody was saying that that we should consider making that longer. Someone said, I don't think it's long enough. Maybe you should make it a little bit longer. I would like to
see it for like 5 minutes. That'd be really cool.
Just on a loop. Well, we do have a shorter version though for our short form videos.
It should be Jeff and Chip and the XRP community.
Yeah, we'll just run through everybody. It'll be like 5 or 6 minutes long. We'll just go like on a roll ticker toe.
Hey,
so
how do you like that? Anytime the future of money gives you a compliment, that's awesome, man. I love the future of money. I love money's future.
Let me make sure
check this out. So it said, "Hi guys, I love your show. Look, may I ask which software program you are using?"
Yeah, we can tell them, Jeff. It's a special secret.
It's a very big secret.
Yeah, it's actually gotten a lot of prominence in the streaming world. It's called Streamlab, and it allows us to do really. Did I say Streamland? What did I say?
Streamlab.
Streamlabs. Okay, that's a different one. It's called StreamYard. StreamYard. You do stuff like that where I'm talking and Jeff's like real small there. It's like, because I'm the prominent talker, and then I can go ahead. We can kind of split screens like that. Then we can kind of like do this kind of thing and back again. And then
I can just take over and cut out altogether.
Help me, Obi-Wan. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Hey, so check this out. So Luna Alpha threw up there. XLM is at 39 cents. Holy crap.
Good thing I own some. Happy about that.
It's always good to own a little bit of the XRP. So, man, there's XLM, right. XLM.
But I think there's an important story too that we should get into, because we talked a little bit last night about XLM. We talked about this how the Ukraine is going to use the blockchain of Stellar to build their CBDC. So we'll get into that one too. I think that's an interesting. I I don't know what do you want to jump into first? I mean,
and I want to start out with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, because I think it's kind of a nice way to kick things off. We can kind of dig in a little bit. But yesterday we started talking about Saudi Arabia. We focused on them using Riipple technology. We went through that article. It was actually a project they started back in 2018, 2017, 2018. What was really unique about that was kind of their first, step into the digital asset blockchain space. And one of the things, Chip, that you'd mentioned yesterday is that Saudi Arabia has really been moving in this direction, of technology, of AI, and they obviously took a little bit of a lesson from what happened over in Dubai and the UAE in general. A lot of great things happening over there. Oh, you know what, man? I wanted to give another shout out here. Let me see if it's still up here, because I thought this was an awesome comment. No, it's already gone. Shoot, but Weasel just put up a comment down here below, but he had this great comment right up in the beginning when he first logged in after Apex Crypto. So Weasel is actually number 2, but he said, blockchain backer sent me, and now I love this channel, man. That's awesome. That's
no,
really,
it really is
really
awesome.
cool comment,
and I reached out a little bit to Blockchain Backer today. Just really said how appreciative Jeff and I were. It's really cool because it's good to be fans of somebody. It's kind of cool when they shoot somebody your way. And I have to say that one of the things that I said basically was how great his fans are too, because you guys are really critical thinkers. You're really getting underneath it. You're understanding stuff. You're asking and posing really good questions. That's one of the things we love about doing the show.
That's right. Exactly. So getting back on topic here. So Saudi Arabia, one of the things that I think a lot of people miss when it comes to what's going on over in the Middle East is that there are a number of peace agreements that were signed over the past months between Israel and the UAE and Bahrain and Sudan and Morocco. And Saudi is obviously in discussion. A lot of those have to do from a strategic defense position against Iran. But more importantly is the economic base that they're establishing over in the Middle East. And what a better way to see full development in the Middle East to really take advantage of technology, which is in blockchain tech. And I think we're seeing that develop, but now Saudi Arabia taking a lead role in blockchain tech. And that's kind of want to dig a little bit more into that.
Well, that's kind of what we started talking a little bit about yesterday. The fact that at some point it's really good for when for a long time the Kingdom of Saudi, their number one export was oil, right? But they realized that they had to diversify, and you saw this happen in the Middle East, right? So they started turning towards fintech, but they really embraced blockchain, which is really phenomenal to see, because they started putting a lot of energy and stuff, and that's one of the other stories we have tonight, which I think is a really good thing for the not only the community, but for the whole space and the world as a whole. Because a lot of times we focus on what's happening in Europe, or maybe the UK or Australia, or Asia, with Japan, Philippines, and But this is kind of cool. Sometimes the Middle East, they're doing some pretty interesting things there. So we got to talk about that.
Exactly. So, man, quick shout out to Wade. What is up, Wade? Awesome to see you here. You were here with us when we were only 1,000 subs. Man, you've been around from the beginning.
Man.
It's awesome to have you here with us still today. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, Wade, appreciate that, man.
Yeah, big support. So another comment here. I just want to put that one up here. Another blockchain backer supporter. Just really got to give a big shout out to blockchain backer, and he's been shouting us out over on his channel, giving us some level-headed approach to this blockchain space, keep things on the up and up, and that's exactly why we got supporters like Wade that have been with us for so long. So that's really awesome.
Since the beginning, which was how long ago, Jeff? A long time ago. It seems
a long time ago. So long ago, man.
Yeah.
So check this out, Chip. So I was checking out this article over on trade.gov, and it had everything to do with Saudi Arabia. And we're talking about yesterday. They signed an agreement with Riipple, and it was the first kind of step into this space. And they did, use an experiment with the technology in 2019 to facilitate cross-border trade. But then now in June, they really started to go full-fledged into this digital asset space. And I think, what's going to be critical here is that you have what is it? The Saudi, it's SAMA, which is the Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority. And this is the kingdom's central bank. And so they announced just in June that it actually deployed blockchain technology to deposit part of this $13.3 billion liquidity package into the banking sector as part of the central bank's active role in providing credit facilities. But they're using blockchain tech in order to do it. So here you go, transition from their cross-border trade. That's the dog. He's got something in mind over here. I didn't even know he was back here with me. So there he goes. Hey, do you want to?
Let's take that. You want to take that? Julius is going nuts again.
Come take this over here.
Yeah, my dog's not in with here.
I think he found something back here. I didn't even know he was here.
Well, Chip says, I got here at 5,000 subs about 3 months ago. You guys rock. Keep it coming. Yeah, man, thank you so much. And always thank you for coming back and kind of supporting, the OTC community. That's one of the reasons you like to hashtag things. Hashtag down with OTC and who's down with OTC. Because, it's just like one of the things that kind of erupted out here. So thank you, Shia. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So hey, let me pull this up. Everyone can see exactly what I was kind of referencing here. I think it's kind of cool, and we can reference this briefly. But this is market intelligence from trade.gov. Right. So here you have Saudi banks will be using blockchain technology for money transfers. I think these are big statements, and alluding to what happened a couple of years ago. They were experimenting, testing. But now actually being able to utilize blockchain tech for these money transfers. And when you see their central bank utilizing it and using it for the liquidity for the credit facilities, I think that's a big deal. And then you say here, the move also gives SAMA, which is the Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority, the opportunity to assess the impacts of such technologies on the financial sector. So here, what you were mentioning, Chip, the move into technology. So utilizing this and imagine what it can develop. I mean, there's so much more.
Yeah, and it's, I have to say that, it's one thing to see a partnership happen. A lot of times we hear about partnerships, but we don't really see a lot on the development side. And then we start seeing it's come to fruition. And then what the other thing we're seeing too is they're moving along. They started up this other program. I think we'll talk a little bit about that. But when you start seeing the evolution of somebody embracing, adopting, because a lot of times, out there in the crypto world, we're always like, when's mass adoption? Well, it's really kind of slowly happening every day. It's kind of like if you don't see somebody every day, but then you see them 6 months later, some change. Oh, their hair is different. There's something about them that's different. You see them 5 years later, something's different. But when you're in it every day, sometimes you don't actually see the changes that take place that are even on the positive side. Because a lot of times, they always have, if it bleeds, it leads. If it's negative, if it's clickbaity and you want to jump over and see what's going on, and then people start flipping out about it. Like, oh my gosh, everything's burning down. But the truth of the matter is there's a lot of great things happening. There's always going to be something behind it. So I don't know. Do we have that other story there queued up? There's another one too.
Yeah, I do have another one over here. Let me just kind of put a cap on this thought here, about the fact that in 2018, it was actually the Saudi British Bank, so a SAB, SABB, and HSBC that came together, and they actually had a shipment of aluminum from Bahrain to Saudi Arabia, and that's how they used this technology to facilitate cross-border trade. They didn't mention Riipple specifically, but basically 2019, it would have fallen in line with when they had signed the agreement to start experimenting and testing. So the bank was using, we know that Saab at the time was a partner with Riipple, and so they were using this technology. And then you fast forward, now it's moved from the Saudi British Bank over to the actual kingdom. So this is where you have the Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority using it, which then segues into the next thing, Chip, which is let me pull this up here because this is another good one if I have it here. Is it? Oh, there it is. So this was a pitch, and this is Saudi Arabia pitching blockchain-based business passport to boost trade finance. To me, Chip, I think it's a big deal.
No, I think so too, and I like the fact this what they're calling the GVC, this global value change passport, allowing firms to follow the host country's financial rulebook. And what it really does is it kind of helps out. The problem is smaller organizations and companies. You know, we talk about the SME space a lot, small to medium enterprise, and a lot of times they're kind of like cut out by the big guys. And one of the things that this does, yeah, if you want to read that, Jeff, the
No, go ahead.
SME, I can't see it because
No, you can't see
my
that.
screen,
Okay.
my screen's reduced.
So here, I mean, you're talking about SMEs. They represent 90% of businesses and 50% of all employment worldwide, and therefore hugely impacted, by all the events of the past months that we've run into. And so here, they want a policy and initiative that's going to help SMEs in the recovery phase. So the one thing you have a lot of, you have a lot of small businesses that are, that they want to help out here.
Yeah, and that's good too because a lot of times it's tougher for the smaller business, especially what we've been going through. You know, there's been a lot of pain points. We were so happy to get into 2021, and we're like, I'll never forget. I was like, I think we were doing a stream, and somebody chimed in from down under, and they say, "Hey, I'm in 2021. It's not so good." It was like that, man. Come on, give it a chance. It's only the first couple hours here.
That's right.
I want to jump into this other story if we could, Jeff, if we're kind of exploring that. But again,
Yep.
we gotta look at all the countries that are embracing blockchain technology, that are making advances. And one of the things that we talked about a little bit was the XLM, right? The fact that Ukraine, and I wanted to do a big shout out to well, let's pull her up first here. Let's do this. Here we go. And there we go. So a big shout out to Moon Chaser. She pinged me and said, "Hey, I'm watching your latest video, which was last night, and you mentioned that the supposed Stellar and Ukraine deal. I'm not sure if you're aware of this yet. So this is really great, and this is what I love when you guys turn us on to something. We can't be everywhere, When you do stuff like this, we want to give you a big shout out here. So Moon Chaser, thank you for that, and Julius, thank you for barking. Appreciate that.
Hey, he wants to be part of the.
He wants to be part of the stream. Yeah. So this comes to us from Sergey, and he is actually a. Let me pull this out. I hate when it does this. So I gotta unzoom that. But he's a crypto geek, a blockchain enthusiast, CEO of Everstake_pool, also the co-founder of Ukraine Tezos, founder of Attic Lab _IT, father, blah blah blah. So he's a guy that's been around. He's been around, the crypto world. He says Stellar should be under scrutiny from the SEC enforcement for the data manipulation that led to the XLM pump. And what do we say it was, Jeff? It's somebody put it in there. It's 30 some. What was it? It's pumping right now as we speak. And he said that such an outright lie offends and demonstrates. Holy cow! I'm not used to this view at all. Let me put this right up here so we can read this. So. Such an outright lie offends and demonstrates the ignorance and disregard for the Constitution of Ukraine. And I'm going to explain why. So he goes into it. What he's talking about was a story that CoinDesk came out with when they were talking about Ukraine's government choosing the whole Stellar blockchain for their infrastructure for their CBDC. And we kind of touched on this a little bit last night. And let's go back into that view right there. There we go. So to jump into it, he says the official report of what is this one? This is the National Bank of Ukraine. Also, on page 33 is telling Stellar it cannot be used due to its limitation. And I don't know if anybody, and probably Wade remembers this, but we covered this a while back. We had talked about this maybe 6-8 months ago. The fact, and this is why I was shocked to hear about the news, because one of the things that Ukraine was talking about was they wanted to see if they could tweak the Stellar blockchain to fit their needs. So when they came up with it, and where Stellar kind of replied, no, we really can't do that. So it says the regular mode may be used in local bank level electronic money systems after some finalization. We cannot use that version to build a national scale system as it's practically impossible to update it following development of the basic Stellar blockchain protocol. Instead, the national scale system can be designed on the basis of one of the public versions. And he goes on to say that the National Bank of Ukraine is an independent branch, and no one, including the cabinet of ministers, cannot influence its policy. So he's saying here that, okay, I'm not going to read that. It has zero legal power to make decisions regarding the CBDC. the National Bank of Ukraine is the only entity which is able to issue this national security, UAH, in any form of cash, right? So it goes on to say that the National Bank of Ukraine cannot select a contractor without public tender by the law. If something similar happens, it's a criminal violation, which should be carefully reviewed. And this is by the which government organization is this, Jeff? Don't know. Guess I could pop it open and look. Let's look. That's the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine. So it's a criminal violation that would be reviewed by them. There it is, right there, National Anti-Corruption. The pilot project team tried to contact Stellar many times, requesting help and some consulting. No one responded. They had a chance to build the first CBDC, and that enjoyed XLM, ATH, but now they're trying to abuse this use case for their own positioning. I'm very disappointed about the level of competence and the lack of check of CoinDesk. The editorial board must write a refutation. This is who he's calling out, I guess the author of it. Ian Allison, are you familiar with Ukraine laws and reality? Whoa, he calls him to the mat there, Jeff. Wondering if the National Bank of Ukraine has become more aggressive regarding attempts to use its name and protect its reputations through the use of appropriate legal mechanisms. And finally, I hope that the governing body knows what they're doing and pursues the national interests that are not abused by people, which are caring about the token price instead of interest of Ukraine's commuting. Thanks for reading. So, it's interesting because, a lot of times we'll see articles come out. And I mean, so what are your thoughts about this, Jeff? He's really pointing out regulatory issues, potential issues here where nobody went behind the scenes to check. Oh, you're muted right there, Jeff. Sorry, you're muted.
I muted myself.
Okay,
Yeah.
that can.
So no, I think anytime you get into something like that, you want to talk about how they're going to roll out whatever technology it is. At least look a little bit further and try to get a slightly better understanding. If you're going to write an article, the difference is, that person is writing full time and reporting full time for that news source. I think I've read other articles by that same individual where they half-ass it, and they don't get all the information. However, you got to give them a little bit of slack because trying to understand all the variables of whatever it is, you can only look at the situation on its face. We know, even going back, like you said, when the Ukraine was testing it out, they were testing and they tried to have, what did they call it? They were testing the private chain. They're trying to build a private chain on the Stellar solution, and they ran into the limitation they ran into. You probably just said this, but was that it doesn't get updates. So if Stellar's updating, their private chain doesn't get updates, and hence it can cause some problems because you can't have somebody from Stellar running over and fixing their blockchain when they do an update because they created the private. So, from that back end variable, but I don't know. You got to give the person a little bit of slack there.
I'm not giving them any slack, Jeff. No way. I'm condemning them. Well, I know that. Yeah, they're making some assumptions though, but I don't. But I don't know there was an official presser. Like they didn't have a official press release, so that's going to happen. I understand that. Look, we don't always get everything right too, and a lot of it's opinion based. But sometimes you have to see. You got to editorialize it. You got to say it's an opinion piece. Like, look, this is what I see versus being an actual news story. So I understand that happens too. But anyway, it's interesting. It's an interesting side anyway that being looked at as far as the actual Constitution being violated potentially and how they're doing it. But again, I think they're kind of reading into something that's maybe not quite there yet.
Exactly. And I think the bigger point with all that is that it's interesting. We see that countries are rolling out on different blockchain. They want to have the CBDCs. We see what's going over in Saudi Arabia. It would be so much easier if there was some regulatory clarity in this country. It'd be so much easier if there was a bigger initiative, behind Riipple and RippleNet to get it into the hands of all these entities to say, hey, this is the commonality. It'd be so much easier if Swift would just come out and acknowledge, hey, you know what, our solution is 80 years old, and you know what, or 80 years old. What is
80?
It? 50,
1974. I'm not a math genius, Jeff, but if we go to 1974, right? 84. I'm gonna use my calculator. 84, 94, 2004.
My head is wrapped up in
14.
the Howey test. My
That's
head is
40 years
wrapped
plus
up in the Howey test. So
plus Plus, you figure, yeah.
80.
Nah,
I'm thinking about that. I'm like, wait
it's
a minute.
it's 120 years old, Jeff. I mean, my God, how did it get to be 120 years old? It's
Oh
been
my
around
God.
since the second
It's been around.
century. It feels like that. I mean,
Around forever. I don't know
quite
what you're
honestly,
talking about.
back then, they had the wheel, and then you could just take a
Yeah.
chariot or something
I
over there and
think,
drop it off.
man, they
Some
should have the
gold,
abacus. They were
some
using the
gold
abacus.
coins.
The
I
abacus
guess you
and
could do
smoke
that.
signal.
Yeah, smoke signals, the
Listen,
coins.
could you imagine back in the days, like how much do they owe? I don't know. Let me figure it out the abacus. Okay, now make sure nothing slides and carry this over. No, obviously
Yeah, I
they're
remember going over the abacus when I was a kid in school, and I thought that's the dumbest thing ever. But I was like, and then if someone showed me how to use it, I'm like, oh, I see. It was an early calculator. I got you. Okay,
That's
cool.
right. It was pretty sweet.
Pretty sweet for the day.
Yeah, I think the one thing that people have to factor in on is that XLM in that scenario isn't connected in any way, shape, or form. So XLM is pumping. I don't know why XLM is pumping right now. I mean, it was 5 cents, 10 cents, 15 cents. Now I'm looking at Fiat Leak over here. It's 37 cents. And when it's pumping, man, it's like, I love to take a look at this Fiat Leak.
But Jeff, didn't you hear the news? Did you not hear the news? They just did a deal. That Ukraine and Germany are using their blockchain to build a CBDC. That's the only news that I've known about that might be pumping. I mean, there could be other stuff, but
other than people, XLM is the sibling of XRP, and if you're moving from XRP, you go to XLM. I mean, I have no issue with XLM because I'm invested in it. But like Michael Attu said, everything is pumping right now. So it's
not everything, Jeff.
Look at that. Look at this. Look at
yeah,
that. Look at the
that's
movement,
pretty strong.
man. Europe, Korea, the US. It's just it's crazy.
I remember
really,
maybe
really
about
cool.
2.5 years ago. I remember buying XLM somewhere in the 40s, like 40 some cents back in the day. Maybe it was 2+ years ago, 3 years ago. So it's not like it hasn't been there before. It just hasn't been there in a while. So
Swift runs on the Commodore 64. I wouldn't be surprised if.
Well, Simon, that's given a lot of credit, man. I mean, like maybe.
Because it's like Simon, 10 years before the Commodore.
Right. I mean, so. Yeah, I mean, but it's a tough one. It's a tough one, man. What is Corey saying? Corey says a lot of it's pumping. Yeah, a lot of it is pumping. What's this one saying? Kleiber Network. Can't see possible $6 plus. There you go. Probably XF1 driver. He's probably got a little bit of that little stash, little bag there. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. What's going on with BAT though? It's funny about BAT because
nothing's going on with it.
I just I always like the rollout of that because I thought it was a pretty interesting idea. But is that doing anything? What's that at? I haven't looked at that in a while.
It's at 25 cents. It's right on par with XRP. But I think it wasn't bad in its heyday around 60, 80 cents. I don't remember.
I think so. I think it went up there because I remember owning it for a little bit and. But again, it's cool how they integrate it into the browser. That's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, there's almost no movement.
So APAC Crypto says, it's a speculatory pump, just like a lot of the crypto market right now. But something gets hot, people start jumping on it, and they ride it up. The funny thing about it is like what really fuels. If you go back to the SEC v Riipple sort of complaint, the whole true test of decentralization is that. When it goes up or goes down or whatever XRP does, whatever XLM does, whatever Bitcoin does, Bitcoin's blowing it out with all-time highs, but I remember when somebody, I know somebody who got in when the first time it went all-time high, which it just grazed 20,000 USD and then it started the descent, right? They bought 2 coins at that point and at that point you get all freaked out or you just wait till it comes back, because you don't want to. Then it rode down to 3,000. So
yeah, I'm trying to find where'd it go. I'm trying to follow this out. This is the winner right here. Swift uses pigeons.
Carrier pigeons. DJ Peter Voss with the funny there. Yeah, that's probably more appropriate, but it may still take some time. It depends how many pit stops they take. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. So all right. So the Ukraine was kind of interesting. Hey, before we go into the next one, check this out. Now, do you remember somebody that was talking about if Bitcoin doesn't hit X by end of year, he was going to eat a certain part of his body? Right?
That was John.
Good old John.
Yeah. So that was John who promised to be on our show
He did.
And then ditched us
And they
the last
ditched us.
minute.
Well,
He was
what
like
the heck
not to
was
be
up with
found
that?
for a while.
That was a shame. But anyhow, so here's another one coming out with the big statement, and it's Mark Cuban. So Mark Cuban said that he's going to run for president when Bitcoin touches $1 million.
Okay, so is he trying to pump it to $1 million? I mean, what happens? Like, he doesn't really want to be president because he's really enjoying being a billionaire and kind of living that world. Does he really want to, or is that just
He
something?
said here, I'll run if BTC gets to $1 million and we can get commitments to donate 350 BTC to the treasury each of the 4 years so that we can give 1 Satoshi to every citizen each year that they must hold for 10 years. So
I'm not sure that's good motivation to be president. I think I need a little more than that. You know, I mean, it's like, okay, I'm cool that you're into, crypto, but I just need a little bit more than, hey, we're going to give a Bitcoin to a citizen and you got to hold it for 10 years. So wait, you're going to give somebody a Bitcoin? Now you're going to explain that. You'll be like, oh, yes, I got a Bitcoin. It's worth $1 million. Oh, no, buddy. No. You can't use that Bitcoin. Like, whoa, but you're giving it to me.
he's going to give a Satoshi, not even a Bitcoin.
Sat?
So 1 millionth.
He's giving sats away?
So it's 1/1,000,000th of a million. So what is he going to give everybody, $1?
He's giving sats. I thought it was sorry, man. That's
Right,
even
there's
less. That's even
Isn't
less
there
motivation.
1 million Satoshis in a Bitcoin, or is it 100,000? What is it? Why
Dr.
can't I
Dre,
think?
president, and Snoop for vice. What happened to Dr. Dre? I knew he had
An
Did you guys hear
aneurysm.
about that aneurysm? Is he okay?
I don't know.
I saw that yesterday.
I don't know. So man, it's so anyhow. So I thought that was kind of interesting. It's crazy. Everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon. They want to talk about, be relevant. I'm looking at this whole Mark Cuban thing because he kind of, is he mocking Bitcoin and the Bitcoin followers? Does he not believe that it's going to actually move in that direction? What is, I don't know what his motivation is. Sometimes it seems a little bit off. So
Wow,
anyway, I'm gonna close this fiat leak because it keeps drawing my attention.
No. So I just want to say, Ghost Investor, thanks. Loving the content, guys. Really appreciate that. And if you guys have questions, you want to throw something up, it's always good to do that. And Jake from State is here too. I don't know how I missed that, but Jake from State's here,
All right, 100,000,
which is
that's
cool.
right. So 100th of 1,000, whatever.
Yeah, that's like they call them sats, satoshis or sats. I'm like, so that's even lesser than that. It's like, okay, so I'm gonna give you a sat. I'm like, okay, I can't wait to vote for you. Okay, I mean, really, you got to hold it for 10 years. So it's just a publicity stunt, is what you're saying, Jeff. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, that, and who knows what he wants.
I think another story that you uncovered, I'll throw it on my screen, but if you could take us through it. Yeah. Hey, King Kenny.
I think that's an interesting question because we're not XRP maximalists. We do think there's obviously other merits in other blockchains, and definitely appreciate having you here with us. We like to get into and talk about other things. For now, we talk a lot about XRP because we like the XRP project. We like, what's in it. And, there's a lot of development in the space. We talk a lot about other projects as well. And we interview people. We interview CEOs from other projects. So
yeah, exactly. No, we're not maximalists at all. I mean, if you guys know a little bit about my story, and Jeff's isn't too dissimilar, we got into it because of Bitcoin. I had a startup at the time. Part of my, one of the 2 co-founders were in the UK. One was in the Australia, and the thing was, us trying to send money back and forth in 2013, 2014. We used Bitcoin to kind of like fund, because it was a self-funded project. The founders, we were looking to raise capital. We went on a raise tour and all that. But the bottom line is that servers take time, expense, money. There's a lot of stuff you have to do. We had a lot of coding to do, and so that's how my introduction to it was. And with the moment that I saw, this is how we saw the value, and I think it'll help explain a little bit about why I like XRP, and I almost call XRP like Bitcoin 2.0. And I've always been a fan. I always say, look, everyone should own some Bitcoin. You should just, you don't have to, but it's the most recognizable thing. And I always knew it was going to go. Do I believe it's going to be 100,000? I do. 500,000? Yeah. It's scarce. It's a store of value. And with the adoption we've seen. So going back to that, when we had to try to use the SWIFT system, it was so messed up. Trying to send money from the UK to the US or from Australia was just such a difficult maneuver. And like Jeff said, you have the exchange effect. So you have different fluctuations, or somebody sent a wire, but you try to send it through SWIFT. It was expensive. And then it was one of my co-founders said, "Hey, I'm gonna send you some Bitcoin." Oh, what's that? Oh, it's this cryptocurrency. Oh, all right. Here, get a wallet. Do this, do that. I got a corporate wallet. I hooked it up. Next thing you know, this is 2013, right? So 2013, I click it. Boom. He goes, "You should see the payment initiated." I'm like, "I see it," and I was super excited because I was like, "What?" It took hours to process. The point of it is that I saw that it initiated. It finally hit the wallet, and boom, we moved it over to a bank account so we could go pay, Amazon and the rest of it. So there you go. So that's one of the reasons that I came to XRP, because, okay, it's that on steroids, right? It's everything. It's just a tweak and an improvement. It's where I think Bitcoin probably would have gone had they continued to develop it. But I still don't think, Jeff and I have talked about this. I don't think Satoshi was done with the project. What was his last post, Jeff?
His last post was that it was unfinished. It
was unfinished,
and that was it. And then that was the last post, and so be it. After that, no more communication. So, I think that's interesting. When we look at this space, though, the one thing that we want to focus in on is utility. And so we've all identified, we talked about this yesterday, Bitcoin is the store of value. It's identified that way by pretty much everybody all over the world. Hey, put it in Bitcoin because of inflation in their currency. It's a place of safety. It's a place of safety for people in Lebanon. Yeah. It's a place of safety for people in Venezuela. And it's a place of safety for people in the US, Europe, and elsewhere, because money is starting to move into Bitcoin at a rapid rate. And we're starting to see the companies getting in, right? Mass Mutual, 100 million. You have MicroStrategy. They've got $2.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. Granted, a big part of that is the increase because they bought in their first 425 million. They bought in at $10,000. Then they added another 50 million at 20,000, and then they bought it even more after that, and now it's sitting at 37,000. I mean, think about, they're going to be $3 billion worth of Bitcoin. The idea here, Chip, is that the big companies are getting in, the retail or the individual retail investors, people looking for safety. That's the identifier with Bitcoin. But all these other projects have valid use cases. Not all of them, but there are other projects with valid use cases. One of them has to be XRP. I think XLM could have a valid use case. We have the DeFi space. There's a lot that's churning right now. We don't know where all the cards are going to fall. It's kind of like trying to figure out, was pets.com going to be the premium play that's going to exist forever? And that's where we're the go-to for pet supplies. And as we know, that didn't happen quite like that.
Well, here's another project that I like. Zinfin, XDC is up 32%. And, I thought it was some exciting news not too long ago. Crypto Eddie did a nice interview with the founder, basically talking about that. And that's another project that I like too. And again, it's still very affordable. I don't know I haven't checked it today what it is, but one of the things I liked about that when I saw this partnership brewing that R3 was going to use it for their Corda settler, I believe, not the Corda settler, something else they were going to use it for, which I like, and this is what Jeff and I talk about, utility. It has a utility, it has a use case, it's being selected by some sort of a partnership. These are the kind of things you kind of look at, and XLM has been around for a while, and they've been forging some partnerships, and they've been making some moves. It's a different setup than like an XRP, but there's a lot of great projects out there, that we used to go down like rabbit holes and talk about projects, but sometimes it's so niche that other people are like, I don't know. So we kind of talk about really like the top 5 or 10. We don't really get into Litecoin that much. It's just something there's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't mean you can't. It's just there's not a lot to talk about, but you own it. It goes up. You're happy about it. It's
the silver to Bitcoin's gold.
Yeah, there you go. Right on. So Michael O2, I appreciate that. Thanks for letting me know about that. I haven't checked in on that in a while.
But, hey Chip, check this out. Just before you get into that, just to touch on the idea of Bitcoin, to touch on the idea of Ripple. It's really a shame. The SEC is going after Ripple. It caused a little bit of an impact in the space. Everything's going crazy. XRP investors are getting super, super nervous. It amazes me. Seeing some of the content that you've been sending over to me. How nervous people are getting, and it tells me the one thing, that when I got into this space. And with any of the stocks that I invest in, as soon as I put that money in there, it's gone. It's like, all right, it's over there. I talked to a buddy of mine, and he said, man, the market, what should I do? The market's going crazy. The market was green in the morning and it's starting to turn red. And he goes, I don't know what to do. He goes, I'm thinking I should pull my stocks out. And he said, I lost 50,000 today. I'm like, holy crap, but he's saying, hey, you know what? It's a lose win, but he didn't say, oh my God, that's my life savings.
Right.
But that's his game. That's what he's into. But a lot of people you get into investment, you put everything you've got into it, and you put yourself in a predicament. The emotions of it and all of that, it's hard to keep emotions out of investment, regardless. And I think that's like the number one thing that, we talk about a lot. And it's a hard lesson that I had to learn, to keep the emotions out, because you buy something, you're like, oh my God, it's going up, I think I got to sell it, or it's going down, I think I got to sell it, or, and then you get all tied up and nervous. Now I put it in there, I forget about it. It's long term. When you're in a speculative space, to me, that's my opinion anyways, I like the speculative space. But what I wanted to get into, though, before we get it, I saw someone kept asking that question, when Mullet, I kind of froze my screen at that point. I think it's no more parties. But Chip, I want to bring up a point here that has to do with letter of credit. We talk about business, we talk about business transaction, we talk about store of value, all these companies moving in. One thing, I talked about this a long time ago. I said the game changer in this space, it's not just the smart contracts that Ethereum is working on. It's not just putting money in and looking for security because your economy's crashing all around you. You're putting into Bitcoin, but it's day-to-day transaction. One of the solutions that Riipple has solved is moving money cross borders efficiently and cheaply. But one missing component to the whole international business transaction is the letter of credit. And if anyone's ever had to use a letter of credit, it's a disaster. But it's horrible. It's just as bad as using Swift. So now imagine you have to use Swift to do regular money transfer and the letter of credit. And it becomes so complex, and there's all these parties involved. The one lesson I learned on the letter of credit is that if you don't put the type of ship that your product is moving on and the age of the ship, they're going to reject your letter of credit. And guess what happens? The letter of credit gets rejected, your business is gone. And that could take weeks to put it together. And within minutes, someone's like, oh, nope, rejected. And so what I think is interesting, and this is built in this technology, but there's a Vietnamese bank that issued its first letter of credit on the blockchain. To me, that's just super exciting.
It's massive. Yeah. And it's funny that it's about time, some of this legacy stuff. I mean, you and I have both been through that before. And, first of all, the time, but, when you lose stuff like that, especially when it comes to losing business, it's just really, it's antiquated stuff. And now we're starting to see stuff happen. That's what I'm really excited about with Flare and the Spark token and the whole idea of interoperability. And they have such a phenomenal sort of a use case. It'd be interesting to see how it evolves, but this is going to be great, especially it's interoperable. It's bringing a use case for XRP, but more so, the smart contract, and then also being an ability to work somehow with Ether as well. So
that's right. Yep, I agree 100%. So that's the question. You want to grab that one?
Yeah, guys, do you think XRP can be deemed a derivative security, or could it be backed by gold? Well, I mean, could it be backed by gold? I mean, it's potentially, I don't know if it's backed by gold necessarily. I mean, it does have a value to it. I'm not, I would love this to be backed by gold, because if it's backed by gold, it instantly shoots up to 1,800 to 2,000, because that's really where it's been sort of hovering. But in order to back it by gold, you need the gold, right? So you need to have, now it's another thing if you say it's going to be on par with gold. In other words, if it's on parity, where it's going to echo the price of gold, but only in a digital format, that's something different, way more complicated to achieve. But the fact is, this is the whole thing. When you have a stable coin like Tether, it has to be backed by something. So it's like, they go like, let's create a coin, let's create it. And it's gonna be, parity to the USD, right? So it's $1.0.99 point, right? It's right there in the pocket. But it's like, okay, so do you have the actual funds sitting in a bank account? Oh. So if you're gonna, and a lot of people have wanted to come out with a coin backed by gold, but then they go like, oh, I need the gold. So I don't know. I mean, you want to take the other one?
Yeah, yeah. Just to comment on that, I also don't know how they would now change the dynamics of the digital asset to be backed by gold because it's not a stable coin.
Right.
You know, it's not pegged to anything. You know, it's like telling, you know, saying that we're going
But
to
it
take
could be.
Bitcoin and now back Bitcoin with gold.
But David Schwartz came out with
I guess in theory you could. Yeah,
he
I
had a
guess you
theory
could,
about the whole idea that you could use it. You could potentially build a stable coin. So it's potential.
you could build it on it. Yeah, yeah. But it wouldn't be XRP. It would be a stable coin built on the XRP ledger that was backed. You know, it's because he got into the whole stable coin thing, right? I
Yep.
assume that's what he was
That's exactly
talking
right.
about. So King Kenny, why did the SEC only target XRP and not multiple altcoins like XLM, DLT, etc.? I think the SEC wasn't really targeting XRP as much as it was targeting Ripple, and I think that's, you know, it's like the SEC, you know, going after a digital asset would be like going after Bitcoin, where you can't go after the Bitcoin and say, hey, Bitcoin's a security, because people, who are you going to go after to say that? Even though they came out and said Bitcoin is, you know, not a security. The SEC gave a little guidance on that. I guess they could always change their opinion on Ethereum if they wanted to, because there's a, you know, a foundation involved in it. But here you have, you know, the SEC went after Ripple, saying that they traded XRP like it was a security, that then claimed that their trade of XRP, they were trading an unregistered security plus other things.
Right.
That doesn't mean they can't come after Stellar with XLM. So
Doesn't mean it at all. Well, they, quite honestly, Jeff and I have both asserted the fact that if you're looking at this as like, oh, look at that, poor Ripple, the SEC's coming out of Ripple. No, they're actually coming after the whole altcoin marketplace, because there's a lot of other similar companies and projects that are set up very similarly, and a ruling there is going to open them up. So that's why this is virtually, one reasons we talk about this a lot, because this has far-reaching ramifications to a lot of projects. You know, I mean, is it going to affect the top 10, 15, 20, 2,000? Certainly going to change the space. We don't want to see that. Somebody put this up. But no, it was something else. Yeah, King Kenny had said this too. Did you see SEC coming after ADA or Polkadot potentially? Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the same sort of question, but look, they are coming after him. If you don't think this, like I said, this SEC v Ripple, you know, and I think it's the worst part about something like that. You know, if you've ever gone through it, you know, Jeff, you know, being a company owner of a company, you know something's starting to good happen when people come after you with lawsuits, frivolous lawsuits, all kinds of crazy stuff. But when somebody's starting to sue you, sometimes, you know, especially if it's in the media, you sometimes can't respond, and it's negative publicity. It actually turns out pretty good. But the problem is, like, Ripple's itching to get out there, so they're very metered on what they're saying. If you notice, the statements are very short. They're all lawyered up. They put a tweet out. Someone's looked at it already, because they don't want to take another misstep, right? They don't want to pull a kick where they start screaming, "I'll kill you, SEC, and I'll take you down, and we'll body slam you." It's like not the way to go.
that's it. Yep, I like that. Definitely not.
Bride Carly. Who's they, Barbara?
The SEC.
They. Oh, the SEC. Yeah. Well, I don't necessarily know if they're mad.
They.
Yeah, the TAGYs. Yeah. Hey, you want to jump in this story?
Yeah, let's get in the story, because now
Let's jump in. Yeah. Let's go into this real quick here. I want to pop through this. So, hey, it's this guy, XR Patience, put this out. What makes me change my mind about Bitcoin in favor of XRP, a thread. And this is kind of something that I think some people might be able to relate to. Let me start by saying it's not a hate on Bitcoin thread. I still hold some Bitcoin. Although I've sold most of it in anticipation of buying the next XRP dip, I believe it's coming. It's a story about how FUD is preventing a lot of people from looking at XRP who otherwise would. I was introduced to Bitcoin after educating myself about the history of capitalism and finance, and why the current fiat system is failing badly. The world needs money, and the government can't debase, and the market alone should decide the value of. After reading numerous Bitcoin maxi books, I started following the Twitter Bitcoin community. There were really no leaders in the Bitcoin community. I thought Tone Vase was a leader. Oh, maybe not. Self-appointed. There's some self-appointed out there, but no leaders really in the Bitcoin space that didn't view other coins as shit coins, okay? Everything I saw about other tech was always negative. So I found that troubling. I started asking about the other tech. I tend to be contrarian, and XRP was the black sheep, so I started there. Soon became clear to me how superior XRP was when it came to payments. But I realized a few other things as well. Well, first, while Bitcoin and maxis claim to be libertarian, if anyone said anything positive about any other crypto or asked questions about Bitcoin's weaknesses, they were basically tossed out of the group. Does this sound like liberty or libertarian to you? Wait, what happened? Whoa, hang on a second. Holy cow, how do we lose our place here? Oh yeah, okay, there we go. Bitcoin maxis lack a real libertarianism because shockingly clear when Ripple was sued by the SEC. Now these libertarians who supposedly hated big government meddling and restriction were cheering in it. Second,
I don't get that part. I don't understand that part. You know, that is kind of funny, right? It was
it's
get
so
away from it. XRP is the banker's coin, and now it's like, oh look, the SEC is going after you. Yeah, let's
yeah, celebrating people's losses. You're right, Jeff. That's like, it doesn't make any sense. And then he goes on to say, second, Bitcoin maxis made claims about XRP that really weren't true. And we've seen that so much. Like, just, I don't know, let's do a Google search, spend a little time. For example, they claimed it wasn't decentralized. But even a cursory research proved that wrong. Only 4% of nodes were operated by Ripple. I came to believe that Bitcoin maxis hate banks because banks represent the current financial system. XRP works with banks, so I figured they didn't have any hate of XRP because of the tech, but because it was trying to solve the problems from within rather than taking over from without.
The thing that he's missing there, though, is that Swift, which is involved with the banks, doesn't like them very much.
Doesn't, you think?
And JP Morgan wasn't a big fan either.
No, that's a good point, Jeff. However, that view began to change when the U.S. gave banks the right to custody crypto, and the maxis were cheering about this. But wait, I thought Bitcoin maxis hated banks. Last night's OCC announcement opening up the U.S. banks to blockchain was the final blow to my belief that Bitcoin maxis hated XRP. Because of the banks, they were all cheering that Bitcoin's day had come, and now the banks could use it. So much for hating the banks. What do you think about that one, Jeff?
It's hard to wrap your head around. So the Bitcoin maxi, especially if you go back earlier years, then the whole concept was to get away from the banks.
Yeah, and it's like now they're flocking back.
Now they're flocking back, and they're cheering that. But I think you're getting I think the point there too is that you have other people involved in Bitcoin now that weren't the originals. They might love Bitcoin now and be maxis now, but it's a whole different mindset. It's like a micro strategy. Maybe that guy's a Bitcoin maxi now, maybe he's not. But
he didn't like Bitcoin originally.
Right, he didn't like it originally, but you think he cares about getting away from banks? He's like, heck with that. I'm banking almost $3 billion off this thing.
Yeah, he's ready to set sail into a whole new project of life that nobody's aware of. He says, I've finally come to believe that Bitcoin maxis are scared. Deep down, they know that Bitcoin fails on a payment system, too slow, too expensive, which means it can't be the only money, which is their goal. And Jeff and I have talked about this. Jeff, we brought up the silly concept of the stock market. Like, can you imagine a bunch of people saying, I like Google so much, there should only be one? And it's like the silly, you're like, what? It doesn't make any sense. Be like, if you saying there should be only Google stock, and I'm over here going, no, Apple's the true one. Apple's the innovator. But you're like, no, it's Google. You realize how ridiculous that sounds? But
how many phones should there be?
I think there should be a lot, Jeff. I never can't get a new phone quick enough. But the whole concept of this is like they want to have one.
Apple or Android. iOS or Android.
Well, it's iOS, Jeff. You know that, but we're never going to agree on that. That's for sure. We're always going to go round and round. So it is funny that they think it's it can't be the only money. It's like, what was that Highlander movie? It's like there can be only one, and it's like there's not going to be only one. Being able to argue Bitcoin's merits is more than just a store of value. The maxis only have one option left: FUD. Unfortunately, because Bitcoin's the front runner right now, people researching crypto for the first time start with Bitcoin. And who are the loudest voices in Bitcoin space that newcomers hear from first? The maxis. That means an immediate education of FUD against all other crypto, including and especially XRP. So even though XRP superiority for payments is clear, transfers take 3 seconds and cost like pennies, right? Fractions of a penny. The FUD prevents a lot of people from looking into and supporting the superior tech for payments. I believe this will change once XRP finally gets regulatory clarity. If history teaches us anything, it's that people are quick to change their opinion when the new opinion makes them wealthier than the old one. So he says to wrap up, he doesn't hate Bitcoin. It's a dominant position in the marketplace. But some of the things I agree with on that, and some of the things, I mean, I don't necessarily know. I mean, there's a lot of assumptions going on in there. I just think the Bitcoin maxis are just they're tribal. They like their coin. It was the first one. They got bragging rights, and they want to continue with the bragging rights. They want to, and I'm a Bitcoin guy too, but I'm not out there bragging it's the only one. You're not going to say that you come on our stream and say, hey, what do you think of this coin? Hey, you know what? I'm not sure I know about that one. I want to check it out. We don't go like, oh, that project is garbage. No, I mean, even if we do our research and we don't connect with it, some dude has it right. It's all about Dogecoin, isn't it? Dogecoin.
Oh, I love the Dogecoin.
Can you imagine if Dogecoin hit $1.50 and then went to $2 and then $10?
If it makes $1, I'm happy. If it's at a penny right now, I'm happy.
No, I mean, but it's funny. It's like, I've been in some of those coins forums that are like, Lambos, popping bottle. They're super excited, because you can buy a ton of it.
It's crazy. Exactly.
It is possible.
I got into Doge at 0.001 and now it's at a penny.
Right. Don't rule it out, dude.
You can't rule it out. If it goes to 2 pennies, and then I'm happy.
Right here, Apex says if it hits $1, I quit. And then when you quit, it goes directly right to 5. So it's like you can't hit it. Useless Ethereum token. I wouldn't say it's useless. Yep. I would never go with the useless. Yeah, that's. I mean, we all have our opinions. It has a lot of. Yep. It does have transaction volume, but
Yeah, I want to put this up. We're gonna cover this on a future show. Get more into this again. We had Channing on with us. We talked about Flare a little bit. We still promised to do a chat with Channing on the Flare finance. We're going to have to set that up and get into that. Here it says it would be great if you could explain live what the use of the Flare Spark token will be and why it will help XRP. So Giuseppe, we'll definitely get into that one on a future show. I think that's definitely important.
Yeah, and I just want to say, everybody, thank you so much for coming. The best way you can share and help us, or the best way you can help with the channel, is just share it with people. Retweet our tweets, go out there, tell people about it. Blockchain Backer really introduced a lot of new people to it. You guys seem to dig it, so you introduce other people. And we have another channel. You can go down there, click on that link. We do short form videos. Jeff will he'll do a 10-minute video and it turns into a 20-minute video, but that's okay. That happens. Sometimes, every once in a while, something like that might happen. But that's the best way you can kind of help the channel out, help us out. And then tweet us stories. You guys see something really interesting, send it to either Jeff or I or on the chain. We'll be happy to look at it. Jeff, what say you?
Yeah, I agree.
That's
my thought. Hey, I just want to say, thank you all for being here. You guys are awesome. For all the new people that are here with us, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, make sure you hit the bell notifier. I know I got a comment from someone. They said, "Hey, I hit the bell notifier and I didn't get the notification." Unfortunately, that definitely does happen. But thank you to all the blockchain backers out there. You guys are awesome. And we will be on again tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on the chain.
See you guys on the next one.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.